So the last time I talked about Blam, I raved about how quiet and how lonely this manga feels as you're reading it. Well, Master Edition 2 is definitely not that.
Buram.
So we start off with a flashback to Sibo and a clone president doing experiments to attempt to replicate the net terminal gene. And I have no idea how to feel about some of this imagery. And on the surface, it feels like a story about, we made a big explosion, we didn't even scratch the surface of the next stratum. Done. But there's so much more going on here in terms of world building. And we also see this floating creature that's said to be an auxiliary power source for the city. And we also get to see a shot inside of the net sphere itself with weird visions of safeguards from the administration, and then robots attack, and it looks like they're almost attempting to save the power source. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's just a whole lot more to unpack here than just, we made a big boom and we didn't get through to the next stratum, which is kind of how she sums up the memory after the fact. But they travel up to the shell of the next stratum and basically set up camp. And Kiri removes his little arm regenerator thing that he's been wearing, to which Sibo says that it hasn't been on long enough, and as soon as he takes it off, he's perfectly healed. So clearly, there's more going on with Kiri here than meets the eye. I mean, we already knew that when he had his head put through a cement wall and just kind of walked away from it, like without a scratch. But we're learning more now, and this goes deeper. But then a representative of the administration appears to them, and in his words, he's here to deliver a message to the seeker known as Kiri. That message being, look out, the safeguards are after you, which are safeguard systems that are activated automatically whenever they enter an area, and not even the administration can stop that from happening. It's just an automated system that nobody has any control over. You just go somewhere, look out, because the safeguards are going to be coming. And boy, do we find out how true this is. I mean, seriously, buckle up, because this one is not, like I said at the beginning, if the last one was like real quiet and isolated, this one's going to be a bombastic roller coaster ride that doesn't stop. And yeah, like I said, buckle the fuck up. We learn that the net sphere has not been accessed in basically forever, and the city and all of its systems have basically grown completely out of control. So much so that at this point, the administration's basically banking on Kiri being able to find somebody with the net terminal gene so they can access the net terminal sphere and get everything back under control in order to, once again in his words, save us all. When this fucking thing attacks and pew, 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 bang, bang, and Kiri blows a hole in the impenetrable wall, and off they go. But now we're in the next stratum, and off in the distance they can see a strange cylinder structure made of an unknown substance that they can't identify, and it's surrounded by human dwellings. When suddenly, they're attacked by safeguards. But this time, one of them has the same kind of gun that Kiri has. And Sibo gets pretty well fucked up. And then Kiri pretty much has his ass handed to him. And then he's thrown off into some sewer-looking area when they're suddenly helped by one of the administration who tells them that Kiri was injected with nanobodies and basically should have died immediately. The fact that he's even alive shouldn't be possible, which more special things about Kiri. He also tells them that without the net terminal gene, they won't be able to get inside of that cylinder. But back on their feet, they leave once again back in search of those villages that they could see earlier from a distance. And on their way there, they're going to come across an old dying man who pretty much dies immediately, so it doesn't really matter. But there with the dying man is going to be a little girl, or a girl. I don't know how little she is, or young or old, I don't know. But there with the dying man is going to be a girl. And she's going to introduce herself as Sanakan. And she explains that she's never been outside, or she doesn't go outside, and she's never gone off searching for the villages because to go outside was dangerous, or to wander around was dangerous at the very least. So now that they're there and they can kind of travel together, she's going to go with them, and they're all going to leave together, and they're going to go off looking for these villages. And right then they get attacked by safeguards. I mean, this is just not going to stop. It's literally, it's just like insane. And at the same time, Kiri is collapsing because he's still trying to shake off those nanobodies, and he's really not at 100%. Even though he can survive something that should have killed him, doesn't mean that he's just like, oh, everything's great hunky-dory. No, so he's literally collapsed because of the nanobodies while these safeguards are attacking. So Sibo's going to attempt to borrow his gun from him so that she can defend them from these safeguards. To which Kiri really holds on to the gun. He will not let her have it, which makes me wonder why he wouldn't let go of the gun, why he wouldn't let her borrow it. Like, for example, does he just not trust anybody? Or is it coded to him? Like, you know, nobody could use it but him? Or is it just so powerful that it would wreck anybody else who attempted to use it? Because we already know that he's special, and we've already seen what it does to just him when he tries to use it, and it blows him halfway across the stratum. But this is also when two of the villagers show up, and they jump in to help out, and they are pretty freaking awesome, and they've got these, actually, they're guns. I think they fire arrows or something, but they actually have weapons that can damage the safeguards, which, other than Kiri's gun, is the first weapon we've seen that can even harm them. Although they say that they have these guns, but they're also have a finite level of ammo. Whatever ammo they have for the guns is all they have, because they have guns and ammo, but they don't know how to manufacture more. So once it's gone, it's gone. But anyway, in the meantime, they can fight them and they can help. But once the safeguards are gone and everybody's, you know, relatively safe again, then we're going to travel back to the villages with the villagers this time, and we're going to do that by jumping on a monorail and taking a train, basically. And on the way there, Sibo looks at the side of the cylinder and goes, oh, Tahoe Heavy Industries, or Toha Heavy Industries, which is actually the name of the company that sells these. But anyway, and they're all shocked that she knows what it's called. And she says, I just read it. And they said, you know what those symbols mean? So basically, nobody can read. Nobody even knew that the symbols on the side of the cylinder were words, other than Sibo, who can read. And of course, Kiri can too, but the villagers themselves didn't know because they can't read. But anyway, back at the village, they stick Kiri in a bed with a healer or a technician or something, basically because he needs to rest, recuperate, and then they take Sibo over to the cylinder because there is a sealed door, basically an entryway into this cylinder, and they want her to look at it to see if maybe she could find a way to get in. And when she gets there, there's literally instructions written on the door how to open it, but they didn't know this because they can't read. So she walks up, she reads the instructions, and pretty much immediately opens up the door for him. Which is also strange because when we were specifically talking to that member of the administration, he specifically said that you can't enter the cylinder without the net terminal gene. But here we are opening the door because we read the instructions. I don't know. But now we're going to jump back over to Kiri, and we're going to get a scene of him waking up in that room with the technician or the doctor or whoever that chick's supposed to be. And suddenly, his entire vision is filled with a computer display, like a HUD, like a heads-up display or a readout. And this overlays over top of everything he sees. Everything from what the things that he's looking at, like what materials they're made out of, to the girls looking at him. He can see that there is a slight infection in her eyes. The fact that she doesn't have the net terminal gene is displayed right there. And it's presented as if this ability is suddenly new to him. Or at least the ability to understand it maybe is new to him, because he specifically says, I can understand the display. But it almost feels like he's saying it to himself and not necessarily to her, although that's not clearly stated. So either that display has not been there before, or the display has always been there, but he hasn't been able to read it or understand it. Maybe it's been jarbled. I don't know. But anyway, Sibo and the villagers and that new girl go into the cylinder, and it's literally just like some vast open space with literally nothing in it. So they go back out. And now Kiri's up and walking around and moving about and doing all kinds of stuff, pretty much against everybody's advice because, you know, Kiri. But now we see that literally everything he looks at all times, he's seeing it with this readout. And we definitely know that this is something new that he didn't have before, because the second he looks at that new girl, it says real big, safeguard. And she's been with him for a minute, so he would have known that before if he had the readout before. But now, also, safeguard. So he freaks out, yells, and tells everybody to get down as he goes to attack her, and then she transforms. And holy sh**, she turns out to be one of the freaky looking ones with the beam emitter like he has. You know, like the one from earlier that basically handed Kiri's ass to him. And this fight is absolutely insane. I mean, it's awesome. Have I mentioned how good the action is in this manga yet? But this time we have the help of an entire village, and those villagers also have those weapons that can actually hurt the safeguards. But they work together and they literally hit her with absolutely everything that they have. And right when it looks like they've got her, she transforms again. And at this point she tells Kiri that only his functions have been restored. And then she kind of disappears for the time being. When a builder pops up, and Kiri just kind of walks over to it and starts asking it questions and what it's doing and why it's there. And then he walks back and he starts explaining to Sibo and the villagers, oh, it's okay, it's just doing this and then it's going to leave or something, I forget. To which Sibo's like, wait a second, you could talk to builders? And Sibo is clearly just as shocked to learn all this as we are. The mysteries about and behind Kiri just keep one chapter after the next, just stacks more and more and more onto what he is and what he can do, making him even weirder and more powerful and more alien to us. But anyway, the safeguards are still after him, so they really don't have time to discuss anything or dick around at all. So Sibo immediately asks him, can you download the builder's language into my brain so that I can communicate with the builders too? So she hooks up to her head, he hooks up to his little fanny pack or whatever it is that he carries around. And the second she interfaces with his brain to download the builder's code, she starts spraying blood from her nose. So apparently attempting to interface with Kiri is almost too much for her to handle. So this book so far, between the action and the fact that every time you turn the page, you are learning something new about Kiri and what he can do or what he is, it literally feels like a mile-a-minute thrill ride that's spiraling out of control, and you're just struggling to hang on and keep track of what they're throwing at you all at the same time. It's absolutely insane. But anyway, Sibo goes running off to grab some builders to help out while Kiri and the villagers get ready for another battle. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, it's just like this mega mech Kaiju battle thing. I don't even fucking know what some of this is supposed to be. I mean, obviously some of them are builders because that's what Sibo went to get, but it's just like completely bonkers and I love it. And this is just yet another breathtaking action scene in this manga, although Sibo appears to be getting worse as it goes on, but at this point it looks like the battle is going in their favor. When that new girl safeguard shows back up, and now she tells Kiri that his resignation as a safeguard has been revoked, which basically tells us at this point that Kiri is a safeguard, which actually would make sense considering everything that he can do and the fact that he carries the same kind of gun as these like ultra elite safeguard people that we've seen so far. But even he's completely caught off guard and surprised by that comment. So if it is true, even he's unaware that he is. Or at the very least, whatever he is, he doesn't even know what he is, I guess, maybe. But Sibo's also there, and Sibo also overhears it. Also at this point, Sibo's gonna collapse, and it's finally, she just can't, her body can't take anymore, and she's gonna collapse, and she's gonna literally be spraying blood from her eyes and her nose just from the toll that everything that she's been doing and interfacing with Kiri and everything has just been too much for her, and it's taken its toll, and she's gonna collapse. And Kiri and the other girl are gonna fight. But when she collapses, Sibo actually ends up inside of this virtual reality realm almost called the Backup, and she ends up talking to this administration program that tells her if she goes back to her body now, she will die. Or she can stay and live inside of the Backup permanently or indefinitely or something. Or if you stay here, you can actually affect the battle from here by connecting with the system that the safeguards are using to attack. But if you do this, there will be some effect on the person interfacing with the system, i.e., there will be an effect on her if she does this. And of course she doesn't care, because if she goes back to her body, she's just going to die anyway. But if she works from here, she can actually affect the outcome of the battle. And of course, I mean, she's invested at this point. But now Kiri's going to shoot the safeguard in the head, effectively ending the fight. And then the safeguards are going to show up back in the backup, right as Sibo's asking the administration if Kiri himself is a safeguard. To which he says, no, Kiri is different. Kiri is a secret emissary from before the safeguards. Then the safeguards attack and kill both the administration and Sibo. And it's presented at this point as though we lost Sibo in this whole battle. But I can't help but remember that when we met Sibo, she was like a corpse torso. And we left her behind, and next thing you know, she shows back up in a new body because she just downloaded herself into one of those other bodies and just kind of started helping out there. So I can't help but feel like this is the last time we're going to see Sibo, because, you know, she could probably just download herself into a new body. I don't know. But anyway, it's presented as if this is the end of Sibo, but I have my doubts. Although I am curious about if and when she comes back, what will be different about her, because he did specifically state when she interfaced with that program that it would have an effect on her. So what is that effect going to be? But anyway, with all that said and done, we still have the giant kaiju looking monster thing to deal with. So now it's a one-on-one between Kiri and the kaiju. And if you expected anything short of spectacular, then you were wrong, because this is spectacular. But then he takes out the kaiju with a giant blast that is so powerful that it literally breaks his arm. And while he's doing this, all of the villagers escape to safety inside of the giant cylinder. And right as the dust settles and the villagers are safe and Kiri finally sits down to rest, all we hear is, well, that was mean. They went in without us. And we end on a shot of the safeguard chick. And I mean, wow. Just wow. If the last one was haunting and quiet and lonely, this volume was anything but. I mean, oh my God. I mean, the dialogue was honestly still pretty sparse. It wasn't overly wordy or anything, but the balls to the wall action that did not stop from page 1 pretty much to the end was absolutely insane. This manga is just clearly going to continue to be an absolute 9. I can't give it any other number but. Yeah, and I'm just chomping at the bit to know more. What is going on? What is this world? What is this city? Who are these programs? Who is Kiri? What is Kiri? What the hell is a secret emissary from before? So, and how old is he? How long has he been around? So many. This is just a tangled ball of mysteries at this point, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.
Buran.